Welcome back to High Heels to Happy Feels. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Stephanie. And I want to start with something I've been sitting with all week because I keep having the same conversation with a ton of different people. And it's this. It's because everywhere I look, people are we're waking up, right, to a very specific kind of realization that we've given an enormous amount of ourselves, right? That they've given this of themselves, their time, their belief, their compliance, their silence to
Mhm.
something, whether it's been a job, a system, political structure. God knows we got enough of that. A community. And that thing, it doesn't care back. And that's a hard realization to follow, right? And that thing, I mean, it never cared. It never did. And that's wild when this realization hits you because it's not like these folks are angry or really pissed about it, but it's coming with this quiet, like, oh, God, oh, wow. How long have I known this?
That is such a specific feeling. And I think what makes it hit differently than regular disappointments is that this isn't about like one person letting you down. This is about realizing like a whole structure, a whole set of rules that you have built your life around was designed really without you in mind at all.
Right? Right? And most of us were never given permission to even ask the question because loyalty is supposed to be a virtue.
Mhm.
Because you stay, you give, you don't question, and in return, eventually the system takes care of you. And the group, the community, it all pays you back. It takes care of you. That was the deal. And more people are looking at that deal or the deal they thought was in place and going, who agreed to that? And did I have any intention of honoring it like this? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's exactly where we're going today. And we're going to talk about what's actually happening in the culture and in astrology and in our own lives when the realization, this finally lands with us.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how this is showing up because I want people to recognize their own version of this because I agree, Steph. I think it's everywhere right now. And it looks different depending on what system you're in a relationship with.
And it is. It really is. And when people hear it named, they're like, oh, okay. So that's what this feeling is, this loyalty and lack of feeling.
Yeah, so maybe this is you at work. You've been a team player.
Mhm.
That phrase organizations use when they want you to absorb extra work without extra pay. You know what
Right?
I'm talking about.
Oh my God, do we? Yep.
Yeah, and you've been flexible. You've built relationships. You've absorbed the culture. You've defended the company at dinner parties. And lately, you've been noticing things like little things, the way decisions get made without anybody asking what you think, or the way certain people are protected and certain people are quietly pushed out, or the way communications from leadership sound more and more like they were written by someone who has never actually been on the client side
Right?
or
Been on
under.
the same floor, been in your position. Truth.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you're in this loop of, I can see it, but I don't want to say it out loud because saying it out loud is going to make this real. And if it's real, then what?
I love that. The loop aspect of it, right? Because that's exactly what it is. That's the loop. If it's real, then what loop? If this is real, then what? Because the identity is wrapped up in it too. I mean, we have put our identity, I mean, anybody I've talked to in the last 3.5 weeks since I really started talking about the leaving the corporate world out loud, it's identity. Because I've been doing this for all of these years, and these folks that are like, I've been doing this for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and it's misaligned the whole time. What does that say about me?
Right. It says that you were operating with the information you had, really, inside of a structure that was designed to keep you from questioning it. And that, like, we can't take that shame and self-blame on because that's not really a character flaw. That's just how these systems work.
Totally. And maybe it's a version right now that is political, because that's really it's a divider.
Yeah.
Maybe you
Yeah.
participated, you believed, you showed up, and whether it's been in voting, advocating, engaging with the process, right? Engaging with the political person, that party, the individual themselves, you had genuine investment And the idea that your participation, that your opinion mattered. And then as you watched across the administration, across parties, across years, months, weeks, days, decision after decision didn't seem to serve the people and or the systems that those leaders exist to serve. And then you're doing the math, and all of a sudden those things just don't add up for you as to what you signed up for.
And the hardest part of that particular realization is you can't unknow it.
That's the part that sucks because you just are like, man, where was that bubble I was living in? Sorry, I interrupted.
Right. Yeah. Like once you see how the machinery is serving something other than what it says it's serving, you can't go back to the version of yourself that believed it.
So true. And I
Yeah.
mean, I really want to be clear, and I know you would say the same thing. It's not cynicism, right? This isn't nothing matters, everything's corrupt, I just give up. That's not the energy. The
No, not at
energy is
all.
no, it's really I need to be honest about what I'm actually looking at. So that from this point forward, now that my eyes are open, or now that my intuition is open, or now that my third eye is open, I make clearer choices from this point on.
Right, exactly. Or maybe it's a belief system, like a religion, a philosophy, a community you grew up in. You shaped your whole identity around it. So you followed the rules and you belonged. And at some point, the structure revealed something about itself and the way it treated people and the way it handled power, the things it protected that you couldn't square with what you believed it stood for. And now you're in this weird grief where you miss belonging to something, but you can't pretend that you didn't see what you've seen.
So true. And I mean, really, there's a common thread that really ties
Mhm.
it all together. It's like I gave myself to this. I gave my real self to this, my actual belief, my actual effort, and the system that received my love and attention as as a resource, and they didn't look at it as a relationship. It was never a relationship for them. It was just I'm a tool
And it's so important to name it and say that out loud because the system isn't evil for doing that necessarily.
necessarily.
That's that's just what systems do. They extract and sustain. But we're people and we get to decide what we're willing to give and to whom.
Yeah. And can we, I mean, okay, so when we actually look at this and what's happening in the world right now, because I think that context matters and I don't really want to talk around it, you
Yeah, let's
know?
name it directly.
Okay, so we're watching like real time level of the institutional instability that most people alive today have never experienced in their lifetimes. Our older populations have been down a similar road, but it's not normal for most. The economic policy is lurching in ways that feel completely detached from how regular people actually live. How
Uh-huh.
the and by the majority, I mean the 99.9%, right? AI is displacing workers who spent 20 years building expertise. And it is not ceremonious. It's not with acknowledgement of everything you've done. It's just quietly, efficiently, because, sorry, folks, it's cheaper. Companies
Uh,
are cutting thousands of people who've been loyal employers for decades and announcing it in a press release. And they use words like, we're right sizing and we're restructuring as if these words don't represent actual human lives being disrupted. And then you look at our healthcare system. The
oy, oy.
admissions, I know, right? And a lot, I mean, some of this is specific to where we are in the United
Right, of
States.
course. Right.
But the financial system, the politics, and everywhere you look, these structures, they're all optimal. Like you said, they're a system. They're structures for their own survival, and they're not, it's it's a machine. It has nothing to do with the people or for the people inside of them.
And there is what I think is the most interesting behavioral observation right now is people are not all responding to this in the same way. Like
Right.
I think there's two really distinct camps forming here, and understanding which one you're in and why I think is kind of important because there's one group that is doubling down, like defending the system harder, finding ways to explain away what we're seeing, what they're seeing. And I want to be careful not to be dismissive about that because I understand it completely. When you've spent years, sometimes decades, sometimes your whole adult life arguing for that organization,
Mhm.
for that itself, um, you, the idea that those beliefs are misaligned with reality is kind of a genuine threat, not
Yeah.
just emotionally, like cognitively, because your whole sense of self is built on that scaffolding. And if that scaffolding is wrong,
Yeah, then what are you standing on, right?
exactly. So the doubling down is actually like a psychological protection mechanism. It's not stupidity, it's that sunk cost fallacy and identity colliding in real time.
Oh my God. And then there's the other group. So,
Hmm.
because you mentioned there's two groups, and this is the group I find so fascinating right now. These are the people who are quietly and privately, and sometimes they say nothing, right? They're completely restructuring their understanding of things. They're not making announcements, they're not posting manifestos, they're not on every single social media platform advertising it. They're just stepping back. They're
Hmm.
getting quiet on certain topics or quieter. They're reassessing what they actually believe as opposed to what they were taught to believe, what you were programmed to believe, or what you've been loyally, blindly throwing yourself towards. They're asking uncomfortable questions about what they want their life to be oriented around. And now that, especially now that some of those original answers just feel really hollow and shallow and yeah,
Yeah. And that's exactly the second group. Yeah. And that quiet reconstruction is more important work, even though it looks like nothing from the outside.
right. Because it's not about burning down everything
Yep.
that came before at all. It's about being honest enough, being honest to yourself. And that is the hardest part of this whole thing to know you're building toward. And and you can't do that if you're honestly still pretending that the old structure and the old way of doing things is solid. When you deep down don't believe in that anymore. You can't force belief.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about this with the astrology because, this is the astrology for this coming week. So we'll wrap that into this because there's a lot going on. I mean, we've been in Aries for a while and we all feel it. So the biggest event happening is Pluto stationing retrograde in Aquarius coming week. And I'm going to try and explain what that means in plain terms. Pluto's about deep structural underground power. It's not the kind that announces itself. It's the kind that operates beneath the surface and shapes the rules without putting a name on them. And Aquarius is the sign of collective systems. So institutions, governments, technology, it's the structures that organize how society functions. So with Pluto moving through Aquarius, it's already stirring questions about collective power. Who holds it? How it's used? Whether it actually serves the people inside the system. And when Pluto goes retrograde, which happens for about 5 months every year, the examination turns inward,
Hmm.
both individually and collectively. We're all going to be asking, where has power been operating in ways I haven't been allowed to question? Where have I been accepting structures as inevitable when they're actually choices made by people who benefited most from me not noticing? And that's really the energy this week. It's not explosive, it's quiet, it's deep, like something you've been kind of half seeing finally really comes into full focus for you.
And that's all of that is a little bit triggering. Like the things that we're about to go through or experience or have to step back and understand is um it's going to be interesting.
Totally.
The whole thing, Pluto, Aquarius retrograde, like the whole thing you were just talking about. And you said there was something with Mercury this week too, right?
Yes, yes. And thank you for reminding me. So Mercury in Taurus is making a hard angle to Pluto. And what that means practically is conversations this week will carry weight. Things can't be unsaid. Information that's been under the surface is going to come up, and it's not always a big dramatic confrontation. Sometimes it's a conversation over dinner where someone says something that they've been holding on to for 2 years, right? Or you've read something and you feel it in your body in a way that tells you you've been avoiding it. So the obvious really surfaces for you. Truth will really have texture this week.
Mhm.
It's going to tend to be uncomfortable. but it's also very necessary. And then we have our third quarter moon because we just had our full moon in Scorpio on Beltane. So happy Beltane belated for those who
Yay.
celebrate. Woohoo! Which is the releasing phase, right? Because we're in that waning moon. And this lunar cycle is literally asking us to let go. So, in a lot of different ways, right? With the loyalties and that. And so, what we're being invited to release specifically is the story we've been telling ourselves about what we're supposed to be loyal to. That's our invitation. It's not to blow everything up, and definitely not literally, just to stop carrying something that's never been yours to carry or that ever belonged to you in the first place.
So I have another story, and I think folks, you're probably connecting with what's going on and like kind of what we're throwing down. And I'm sure you're
Yeah.
picturing this in your own life. But I'm going to share just one more so we can kind of like pull it together.
Sweet. I love it. Do it.
Right, because it's this is real texture in actual lives. So I can't even remember. I would say like 2 or 3 years back. It was after COVID anyway. But there is a period where I was deeply embedded into a community structure, like into um let's liken it to kind of like a church. So let's just say church. And I'm not going to get specific. But there is a hierarchy and there were rules. So that's why I'm just going to call it a church. And a very clear story about what it meant to be like a good member of this. And I believed it. I genuinely did. Like I gave it my real participation. I showed up. I advocated for it. I had my identity partially organized around belonging to it, which that's never a great idea, folks, but you know how that goes.
But it's easy to do. We all
It
do it.
it is because you buy into something and then you're like, this is me. I love this.
Hmm.
Yeah. But then I had that moment and it wasn't crazy, but it was, I tried to raise a concern. And this is what we're talking about. It just reminds me of this because I tried to raise a concern, genuinely noticing something that kind of felt off. And I thought, I've been here long enough. I've earned the right to say something. And I was very quickly shown that that's not how it worked. Not only was my concern
Oh my
unwelcome,
God.
the fact that I raised it at all was treated as like this kind of betrayal of the system. Like, how dare you create that friction here?
Right. And that tells you every single thing you need to know about that system's relationship with you.
It told me everything because what became clear in that moment is that what I believed was a community, like a reciprocal relationship, like you were talking about, was actually a structure that needed my compliance. It needed my visible participation. It needed my energy and my endorsement, but it did not need my actual voice. And I had been mistaking one for the other
And if we really want to double down, it didn't want your voice.
for real. And that's where this kind of work and this kind of realization kind of hurts.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the distinction that I think so many people are really making right now. That loyalty, real loyalty. It should create a relationship where your voice is part of something you're loyal to. It's part of the program. It's heard, it's received, right? Where the system is accountable to you just as much as you are accountable to it. And
Hmm.
when that's not happening, when your loyalty flows in one direction, it's and if it's not received, that's not a relationship. That's an extraction. That's a pull on your energy. That's a grift.
Absolutely. And the grief of realizing it, folks, is real. It like doesn't always look like a breakdown. Sometimes it just looks like that quiet recognition of what you believe about yourself and how the world works. But it costs something. And the people who have been through it deserve to have that acknowledged.
Big time. Because the grief is so real with that when you figure that out, because you feel foolish, you feel let down, you feel
Hmm.
betrayed,
Yep.
right? And the clarity on the other side of that, though, is also real. And so it makes everything, both sides true.
Both things, always.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's wrap all this into our soul pillars. Um, because I want to talk about the mind, heart, body, and spirit. Now I'll split these up like we usually do because each one has a really, I think, distinct signature when you're moving through this kind of awakening. And it is an awakening. Be clear about that. Being true to yourself, being authentic to yourself, and being honest with yourself is by far the most awakening and powerful gift you can give yourself. Preaching.
Agreed.
Preach. All right, let's start with the mind. Your mind is incredibly protective when your loyalty to something, to anything gets disrupted because the mind has been working with a model of reality that's been built over years, sometimes decades, right? So when something contradicts that model, the mind doesn't just quietly update. It's going to fight for the model because the model is how the mind organizes everything. So if this belief has been wrong, then what else is wrong? So then the mind starts creating very convincing stories. This is just a temporary thing. Every system has flaws, right? I've invested too much to walk away from this now.
Mhm.
At least I know what to expect here. I mean, it almost becomes, even though it's a horrible thing for you, it's still a comfort zone. And these
Right.
stories will feel like logic for you. They sound rational, but they're actually the mind protecting the architecture from really collapsing. Recognizing that, naming it, is actually the beginning of that freedom for you.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
All right, so in the heart is where the grief actually lives. And I think people kind of skip this one just because it's easier to go from disruption straight to anger. Because anger, I get this. It feels like power. Anger is like, feels like you're doing something about it. But grief just feels like sadness. And the heart
Right.
genuinely needs to grieve before it can move. So the grief of loyalty not being reciprocated is real grief. It's not just a disappointment. It's the loss of a version of reality that you built your life around. And when you give yourself permission to feel that, not necessarily like perform it, just actually feel it, something releases. And the heart gets a little softer, not harder. More discerning, just not more closed.
Yes. I love that. And I love the whole anger versus grief thing too. It's easy to be
Hmm.
angry.
It
It's
is.
easy to react and it's easy to do those things, but to really own it and live with the grief and just let it go, that's the work.
That's road rage right there.
Big
Sorry.
time. Big time. I love that. Yeah. Okay. Body. It's always the one where people are like, oh, yeah, because the body knows, right? We talk about this all the time.
Hmm.
Almost always, when you look back, you will have looked at the tension in your shoulder, how you sat, how you walked, how you talked, the sleep that was never quite restorative enough, the low grade dread you associated with just being busy, just being an adult, the stomach that was never fully settled, right? It was constantly upset. Your body was holding the awareness that your mind wasn't ready for. So here's what's interesting. When people start to exit systems that have been extracting from them, so it's been pulling and grabbing from you and never giving you anything in return, the body responds.
Yeah, it
You're going
does.
to sleep better. The breathing changes. You're going to breathe differently. You feel lighter in a way that has nothing to do with anything you've actually physically changed external. The body was just waiting for you to listen to it and pay attention to all of those signs it's been giving you.
So now that you're 2 days out of your corporate job, are you telling us how you're feeling? Like,
And it's funny because I mentioned that to you right as we were going. I'm like, I hear everything and it sounds beautiful. I heard a lawnmower and I'm like, oh, lovely.
right? All
And
right, sorry, I digress.
oh
Okay, let's
no, but
jump
it
into.
it is. It is there is something so deeply, and it's don't get me wrong, the company we worked for, or my sister still works for, is an amazing company. But
Yeah,
I
they
was
really
done.
are. They
But
really
I
are.
was done. It
Yeah,
wasn't it was my time. And that recognizing that and was there grief? I honored the grief. I cried my little eyes out over the last week on almost every call I had. I still will cry when I read through all the notes and things that were sent to me, but it's part of it.
yeah, it
So I
is.
love that you brought that up. Yeah. Tell me about spirit.
All right, so this is the one I kind of find fascinating because spirit is the part of you that never fully captured by any system. Like systems can't capture your spirit, right? It's the
Yahoo.
part that always kind of has its knowing, even when you override it, because that's what we do. Even when you maybe told it to be quiet, even when you buried it under compliance and busyness and the need to belong. That Pluto retrograde in Aquarius this week is actually kind of a spiritual invitation in the most grounded, practical sense of the word. And
Love
that
that.
invitation is who are you when you're not organizing yourself around what the system needs you to be? Like,
You got to
what
say
do
that
you?
again. Say that again because I
Who?
like that.
Yeah, it's who are you? Okay, hang on. Let me remember it when I the way I said it.
Who are
When you're
you?
not organizing yourself. around what the system needs you to be. Like,
Uh,
what do you actually believe? What do you actually value?
mhm.
Maybe what would you choose if the choice you make wasn't going to cost you something, wasn't going to cost you anything? What would
Right.
you actually choose? And that's a good spirit question. It's the most important one right now, I think.
I totally agree. And I think it's good because it goes back to last week when we said, what are you really hungry for?
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, it's a big continuation. The stars are screaming at you. And everything's aligned for these moments to really look and sit and reflect on these decisions, especially with that Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And it's a beautiful time to self-reflect, to sit in those moments and to look where everything is sitting and whose script are you living anyway. A really
So
good reminder.
you bring up a good point because I just spouted out a lot of little questions, and those questions are not like, let's give people some practical things to work with this week
I love it.
because I think like it's a lot and we want to bring it somewhere that folks can actually use it.
Yes. All right. So we came up with a little toolkit here. This one is, we're just calling it really quick the loyalty audit, right? And I want to be clear, this is not a tear it all down exercise. This is not a be suspicious of everything. It doesn't all need a conspiracy theory. The goal is to get honest about what's actually happening. So here are some questions, and you can journal them,
Mhm.
sit with them, talk through them with someone. And I'm just going to give you, I've got 3 to 4 questions here written down. So, first, what systems, structures, or institutions are you currently loyal to? And go broad with this one, right? Your employer, your political party, your religion or belief system, your family structure, a social community, a professional organization, whatever shows up when you think about what you've organized your choices around, put it on the list.
That's great. Take a perspective, do the 30,000 foot view, like way out. What does your life look like? And identify all of the, because when you think about systems, you're like, yeah, well, I have this job and that's my employer. You are involved in so many more systems than you even realize. And when you step back and look at them, it's like, holy cow, I have a lot going on.
Right. Look, if you need a place to really start with this, look at your calendar, look at your
Mm,
kids' calendar, look at, because you might be a mom or dad, you are an employee, you are a friend, you are a sibling potentially, you are a son or a daughter, you are a aunt or an uncle, you're a cousin.
yeah, so much,
There
like
is
so
a
much.
lot going on in
Yeah.
your life. So there's a huge family structure there. There's a huge employee structure there. There's all of these different pieces. So look at all the moving pieces. Question two, and for each, I want you, for each one of those items that you've just listed, right? Whether it's a little circle or however you want to do it, what do they each need from you? So what are you giving to each one of those things? Your time, your energy, your silence on certain things, your visible
Mm,
endorsement, your compliance. Get specific. What is it? What is your contribution to each one of those?
good question. Like
Right?
that's you
If
really you really got to think about that relationship.
yeah, and yes. All right. So now question three. What do you need from them?
Yeah. The other side of the relationship. That makes a lot of sense. Love that
Uh-huh.
question.
So first time you're writing, right? Your first question is, what am I all involved in? Where's my loyalty being spread? The second one is, okay, what am I giving to all of these things? What are my contributions? I mean, it might be donations. It might be actual physical work. And you just write it down. And some of that is beautiful. And you know what the payback is on those, right? Because it is contributing to the community or whatever, or homeless shelters and there's some beautiful things that you may not see reciprocal in the way that we see reciprocal. But you want to get specific about what you're giving, and then you need to write what are you getting from it? Because maybe what you are getting from it is just pure joy in knowing that you're helping somebody else.
Right. Yeah, not all of this information, like as you question through these, it's
It's
also going
that.
to show a lot of joy and light in your life too.
Exactly. And that is going to be the thing. Because now, as you look at, what are you experiencing from each of those? If you were stepping back from whichever system, what's the fear? Is it because that fear is your tell? And so is the fear when you leave that system? if you recognize that you're not receiving any joy, there's nothing reciprocal there. Joy is a gift.
Yeah.
Sharing is a gift. Um, Service of others is a gift. So that could be your gift back. But if you're getting nothing in return from those systems, what's the fear? What's holding you there? Is it financial? Is it social? Is it an identity crisis type thing of I don't know who I'd be without this? And get clear on that mechanism.
Those are all great. And you said three or four, so I think I want to add a fifth question here
Okay.
because this is just something that came to me while you were talking about the relationship and all the thing. But like, what would you still believe, or what would you still value? Who would you be if this system disappeared tomorrow?
That's good.
Because what survives that question is actually what's yours. Like that's what's left when you take the system away. That's you. That's genuinely, organically you. And everything else, the beliefs that only work when the structure is intact, and the identity that only exists through belonging to that structure or that thing, that's all worth examining.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who would you be? And the point isn't to leave everything. It's not.
Oh,
Because some systems are absolutely worth our loyalty, like we were talking about, right? Some structures genuinely do offer a reciprocal relationship. The point is to know. And then for you to make that distinction consciously and between the loyalty that's flowing both ways, right? Where you've got this river and it's circling around to you and it's flowing into a pond, whatever. But then there's the just one direction type where all they're doing is extracting from you. They're pull, pull, pull. There's never a push.
right.
And that's the distinction because we're never really taught to just make that. We just give because we're told to give. We're told to do these things with some of it is programming. But yeah, sorry.
No, no, that's good. Yeah, we were just taught that loyalty itself was the virtue, and
Right? Yeah.
not that the object of your loyalty mattered. And I think this week is about measuring what's your non-negotiable when you're in a relationship with a system, like really making definitive, definitive marks.
I love that. And it's true. That's totally the energy that's present for this week ahead. And it's really going to be an ideal time to sit with those questions. And you're going to feel it. You may already be
Mhm.
feeling it as Uranus shifted into Gemini, like we talked about last week. Um, and with the season that we're in and with Pluto going retrograde in Aquarius, it just makes sense that with the things that have now surfaced for you, you're going to ask questions. And it's not to make dramatic decisions for you, but it's to really be honest with yourself about what you're actually in a relationship with. What are you there for? Right?
Coming in on Beltane, because Stephanie said we just passed Beltane, and if you celebrate, and you can feel all the energy. But it really kind of feels like we're decluttering our systems and relationships with those systems right now.
Oh my God.
Doesn't it? Doesn't that sound like kind of what we're kind
Yes.
of emphasizing in this episode?
It's like
So
spring cleaning on steroids
on a massive, massive
on a
level.
massive global universal level of, I don't, the release statements we had our community write, and going
Right.
through with the full moon in Scorpio and then with rewriting what you do, who you are in Beltane. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
bringing it all back together now
Yes.
that I've got this whole declutter passion going.
I
Before we
know.
close, I want to land somewhere like really intentional because really, I don't want anybody walking away from this feeling like the message is trust nothing and everyone's out to get you. That is not what we're saying.
God, no, no way. That's not it at all. Um, the message really, if I had to distill it and really break it down, your loyalty is one of the most significant things you have to offer. It's not
Mhm.
small, right? It is a gift you're giving somebody. It's enormous and it deserves to go to someone or somewhere that deserves to receive that, genuinely, truly deserves it. That's not just going to extract from you and pull from you and never give you anything in return. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, collectively right now is it's just honest enough that we notice the difference at this point.
Yeah. So really just paying attention to see what it is. And wherever you are in that, whether you're just starting off feeling like there's something a little off, or if Steph and I are like highlighting something and saying, "Hey, look at your systems," and you start backing up and going, "Holy heck, I have a lot going on." Because you could have been knowing this for a long time and you've already made the move, or you're already in the grief transition. Just know that all of this stuff that's happening, it's energy for everybody right now, and you're not alone in it. A lot of people are going to be doing this work right now. It just tends to happen more quiet because we don't, first of all, it's hard to for people to say, I was wrong. I was in the system. I was doing this thing and I was completely wrong about what I was receiving in return. And that hurts and it can be embarrassing, but you're not alone.
Right. And never be embarrassed about being human because everybody does it. And the thing is, I think it's empowering and I think it's beautiful and I think it's so cool when somebody owns something. When
Absolutely.
when
Couldn't
they
agree.
own a decision and they own a acknowledgement of, wow, they didn't deserve me, right? That
That's a powerful statement. They didn't deserve me.
they didn't deserve me. Because that's what it boils down to. Do they deserve you? Do they deserve your loyalty? Do they deserve every bit of energy that you're giving it, or money, or time, or commitment, or whatever it is? Do they deserve it?
Well, and the thing is like if you are happy with the reciprocal, like Steph was talking about, there could be situations where you absolutely are going to give this energy because you love this organization and whatever they're giving you back is perfectly fine. So there's going to be things that are fine. So
Yeah,
don't look don't go to every system and be like, "Oh, this is where it's wrong. This is what I want." But do they deserve you? That's a
right.
really good question.
Well, and are they, I mean, if you really dig into it, so if we're going to really get deep about it, but if you're really going to dig into that organization, that system, whatever it might be, I mean, as you look at it, we all evolve, we all grow.
Mhm.
Our opinions change, our views change, our wisdom levels change, different things just happen because of we grow. Um, and we change. We really do. We change our minds about things all the time. And is it really everything you thought it was? Maybe when you look back at it and go, dang, that's exactly what it has been the whole time, and I just didn't pay attention. Or maybe they've changed and they're taking a different approach. And they said one thing a year ago and are now completely two-faced and saying something else.
Yeah, you're just taking stock, really, is what
Now
you're
you're
doing
just
right
looking
now.
at it going, you know what? This
Yeah.
is not what I signed up for. This, you have changed you've changed the approach, and I'm out.
Just yeah, take stock of where all your
It's
energy is
taking
going.
ownership. I love
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
do they deserve you? So, and there's a lot of people going on with this right now, and I know our listeners are amazing. If you know people that this resonated with, please share it with them because I think it's so important. I know Natalie and I both think this is incredibly important
Hmm.
to let
Absolutely.
people just own this, right?
Help your friends do the work. Like if you know somebody that maybe you want to highlight, hey, this system's really taken advantage of you, or maybe I'm not going to call it any specific. I was going to say something specific and I'm not. So I'm just going to pull that back in because that was going to be maybe you know folks who are being taken advantage of. This can be a helpful nudge maybe in the right direction for them to do this work too. So if maybe somebody sent this to you, pay extra special attention and thank them later for the
Yeah,
work you're about to do.
absolutely. Sometimes the intuitive sign we receive is because we've received something from someone else that just kind of points out in the most gently and lovingly way possible that you're being used
Yeah.
and you're being taken advantage of, and I really wish you would open your eyes. So
Yeah.
anyway,
30,000 view it, folks, and get those questions answered.
yep, answer the questions for yourself, right? And then get into the Soul Pillars framework. It's free, immersivespirit.com/soul pillars. All of the things we talked about, there are toolkits out there for mind, heart, body, and spirit that are going to help you align with those and that you will help you with answering these questions because they're uncomfortable. All questions that we bring up in this episode, that this podcast, we try to bring up uncomfortable questions. The reason for that is we grow when we ask ourselves and answer uncomfortable questions. That's our growth.
Yep. The friction is what grows you. So
Exactly.
here we
Absolutely.
grow.
Here we grow. Get out of that little comfort zone. There's a little whole fuzzy line area around it that's really soft and cushy. Just jump right over. It's really fun. And do not forget to get on our wait list. If your intuition is feeling just a little bit off, you want to know more, whatever, intuitive operating system. Head there, get on the wait list. The people that are on the wait list and sitting on that wait list by May 11th, I think it's the 11th, or did we go a little later? Might even be a few days later than that, are getting a discount from the regular
Huge,
price.
like a huge discount, like significant. And everybody has an intuitive operating system, so come learn yours.
Yep. Come all it's 10 weeks. It's awesome. It's a great way. It's an hour live a week. Everything is self-paced. You do not have to do it in 10 weeks. You do not have to attend the live sessions. So we're not asking you to commit your time, but it is going to give you something in return. It is a huge, huge opportunity. So intuitiveoperating system.com, or you can find details, of course, clicking around within our site on Immersive Spirit too. But just go to intuitiveoperating system.com. That's the fastest way to learn all the details, get on the wait list, save a lot of money. Yeah. And then, of course, our community. So immersive-spirit.com, free for the first 30 days. Would love to have you there. There's live workshops every month. I've got the lunar intentions and journal prompts and everything that are dropped every single day to our members. It's just a great community. We have such beautiful, beautiful members. They're so sharp. Um, and I think that's it. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. We're just gonna keep talking if we just keep talking.
Right. We're just going to keep yammering on because we love you and we have high energy and it's beautiful outside and we're just feeling the joy. Yay.
Enjoy.
All right, we're just kidding. We'll let you go. Until next week, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Natalie.
And from high heels to happy feels, and from us at Immersive Spirit, have an amazing week ahead. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.